Okay, we are live. Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is
morning.
Kay,
How
and
are
I'm
you?
a joyful voyager. And
Yes.
today we are going to go voyaging with a very special guest. But before I introduce her, I want to talk about our topic for today, which is communicating, connections, making connections with purpose. So we need connections in our lives, right? We make connections for friendship, we may make them for business, but what we want to make sure that we do is make rewarding connections that we will have for a long time. There's nothing like deep connections to enrich your life personally, but how about for your business? Uh, why not connect with people that trust you so much that they refer you to other people that they know, and you're likely to get the business because they trust that person. But it just goes so much deeper. So let me tell you why we ended up here again. First of all, I'm excited to have Donna Ivy back. She is the CEO of Eye Care Home Health. She founded that company over 26 years ago, and she is a servant to the community, to the people that work for her. They have enriched so many lives. Many of you out there in TV land know her. But here's how she ended up here this morning. The irony, oh, the irony. It's because of a connection. Donna made a connection for me with somebody that she knows. It turned out to be a great connection for me. And while I was getting to know this person and making a meaningful connection, he spilled the beans on something Donna didn't tell me about. Now, I knew she was a master at making connections, but what I didn't know was her secret sauce. And this secret sauce, let me tell you, not only is this woman the head of this company, the founder and the CEO, but both of us belong to an organization called BNI, Business Network International. And they have chapters all over the country, all over the world. And what I didn't know is that Donna was one of the top presidents. Every chapter has a president. She was one of the top chapter presidents in the history of BNI. And I was like, what? And so, yeah, so our friend, our mutual friend, Kirk, told me that, yeah, Donna grew her chapter all the way and she grew chapters and this, that, and the other. I'm like, how in the world? I said, oh, she's got some secret sauce that she has. And I knew she was good, but I wanted to find out why. So that's why we're having this discussion this morning, because I think it's very timely, especially as we live more in the virtual world. We need to really think about this. So, Miss Donna, you are on the show to spill the beans. Okay, you're going to spill your secret sauce. So
I have to tell it all.
yeah, you're going to tell it. You're going to have to tell. I called her up and I told her.
I love people. First of all, you have to love people. But the one piece about making really great connections is, first of all, understanding that every living human being, no matter where they're from or who they know, has a redeemable quality. And so what I do is I go in with a sense of giving, just like BNI has Giver's Gain, and my Christian background says it's better to give than to receive. So I go in with a notion of, what can I do? What can I do for you? And then before I can find out what I can do for them, I have to know them. So when I encounter someone, when I walk in a room and someone's sitting off to the side and no one's talking to them, that's the very person I go to, because I'm not trying to see necessarily in that moment who can give to me. I want to see how I can impart an impact on the life of someone else by finding out about them.
So and that's a good point, especially when you see somebody sitting alone, or you could be in a room full of people, or it used to be a room full of people. What is your approach? I mean, obviously you say, good morning, how are you? You introduce yourself, but what is your approach to begin to make that connection?
So my approach is finding something that's universal for everyone, right?
Right.
So universal topics, besides the weather, that's universal, but even going as far as to say, what is your favorite vacation spot? or favorite place that you've always wanted to be? When is your birthday? What is your favorite season? When you mention those things, no matter where people are from, people have an answer and it allows them to tell a little bit more about themselves. I had an opportunity at my church several years ago. We had an amazing project at Christmas in July where we had people come from all over, from shelters, and we would sit down and of course we were helping them and feeding them and serving them. And I sat at one of the tables. And so the same thing that I use at a BNI or a chamber in terms of starting conversation, I was able to use. And it's amazing that people, no matter what their situation is, they're excited about talking about what their birthday is or where were they born. And then I try to see, is your favorite season related to when you're born? So my favorite season is fall, and I was born in October. So I like that. So I like to see those matches. And even if you've never traveled, where would you dream to travel? And that goes in line with what you do. So I can take someone's dream and make it a reality one day, no matter where they are. So
And that's an interesting thing you just said. Well, you said a lot of interesting things, but it's funny you should mention. I think when you're born could be linked to the season you like the best. And I was born in December, and it just so happens I love the winter.
see, I love to do that little poll. I like to just find out. It's very interesting.
So you ask questions that don't lead to yes or no. You're asking questions that are open-ended. Okay.
Yes.
So now let me ask you this one. Now, when I first met you, you weren't naturally shy at all. I mean, I walked in the front door 2 years ago. Never been to that meeting before, and you were at the door and you said good morning. And I thought that was so nice. And okay, people don't believe this when I tell them, but I'm the timid type. I can be very shy. And so I probably could be one of those people that's sitting in the room aside and just observing the situation. What advice do you have for somebody who may be timid and scared to approach someone who wouldn't, like, oh, I'm not approaching them. I don't know what to, I know a lot of shy people. So for somebody who's shy, what's a good thing to help them to be brave and go and do that? What should they do?
So I think before they even go to a network, getting in a mindset of I want to connect with one or two people, because sometimes in a network is overwhelming. So that's the first thing. The second thing is imagine being yourself in a room. And if you're shy, you know how that feels. So for the person who is an extrovert that loves people, remember you have to take yourself back to that shy, maybe quiet person and imagine how it feels. So that's why I always like being at the door. So like at BNI or at church or wherever I am, I love, because I don't want any person coming into that environment and feeling lost or feeling that no one cares or nobody wants to be around them. So I love being that first person to make that impression and to guide them to wherever they're going.
Well, I think you must have rubbed off on me, because now, when I like to say good morning and greet people, because I know what it's like to walk into a room and you don't really know anyone.
Exactly.
So, and I've learned a lot from you.
Well, can I say this? This is an interesting part too, and you and I did this in our network this week. I attend, and all of us are attending lots of Zoom meetings. So let's bring this to 21st century COVID-19. You're having a Zoom meeting. All of you know each other. There are people that come in that you don't know. Do just like Romper Room. Remember the little teacher in Romper Room? Hello, Tracy, how are you? Interrupt, because people who know each other already know each other.
Yeah.
I can connect with you offline anytime. But really, I attended a meeting this week, and it wasn't our meeting that we did, another meeting, and I came into the room and no one said a word.
Ooh, and that is kind of rough when you don't know it.
So instantly, I felt like that person that could potentially walk in our chapter or in our meeting. So I went on overdrive. I don't know if you saw it this past week. I kept saying, "Hello, good morning," and it was not only to it was in particular to the visitors, but and it made them turn their mute off to say hello. But that makes all the difference, and I think it because you got to remember you only have one time to make a good first impression. Make it count. Make it count. So just give everything that you have. You usually only have an hour or hour and a half or whatever. Do what you have to do to just make it count and make that person that's walking in feel like the most important person in the world.
Now, let me ask you something that's important.
Yes.
Let's say we get that down and we greet people and,
Yes.
and we've come in with the mindset that we're going to, wherever we are, we're going to connect with somebody. We could be on a trip someplace in a foreign country. I've done that. Oh, it scared me to death, but I've done it. But I mean, how do you, once you do that, now getting to the next level, that's where things can get a little bit harder. Like, how do you make a decision that you would like to go forward with the connection with that person? And then, then let's go beyond that. What are the steps that you use to build that relationship like you have? Because you have relationships that are decades long and longer than that. And so let's talk about that. What's the next steps?
So the next step is make, like I said before, make that person feel like that they're the most important person, which means as much as I like to talk, I love to listen. So listening. You're a better listener than you are a talker. I can easily spout off exactly what I do, just like nothing. But literally, be a good listener. And people love for you to probe them. So how did you come into this business? What were your thought processes? Did you think that you would ever be an entrepreneur? Or is this something that just happened? Who inspired you? All of those things that come along, and it allows them to flesh it out, to get it out, to talk. And even if they never come around and ask you, let that go. The relationship starts building if the meeting is over or the connection is over and they turn around because you showed interest in them and say, Donna, you know what? That meeting got away from me. I gotta find out about you. When they are able to reciprocate, then it is a real connection. Okay? Every encounter is not necessarily a connection. Every encounter is valuable, but if we take the stance of those who are more outgoing.
Sorry about that. My four-legged children are fussing.
Oh,
my broadcast.
The dogs.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So, but if we take the notion of, I want to hear what you have to say, and I'll take the time to do it, and then give them the opportunity if they ask to kind of have another meeting where it could be an exchange, and that's how connections, really, really good connections, can happen.
Okay. So now let's just say you've made the connection and someone has said, oh, yeah, I'd love to talk more to you, blah, 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 blah. Now, how do you go about building a connection so that you have those, those commonalities, the things that keep this connection going for long years? How do you do that?
So the way I build the connection is, so remember I mentioned earlier how everyone has a redeemable quality. So there's something that happened in their life, something that they really cherish. If you're a good listener, you're going to speak to that in many ways. So when you finish your encounter, send me a note to say, you know what? When I was a kid, I had that same type of bite that you spoke about, and write something specific. So because people will value the connection because you really listened, that you didn't sit. So find something that you can exchange or give. I love giving.
Generic. So no generic. If you write a note or something.
No generic. It was great. The note says, it was great meeting you. Hope we can meet again. That means that, okay, we were in everyone who's in the presence of someone doesn't necessarily connect. You know, the connection occurs when you've received something and then maybe down the road, and it may not be very immediate. It could be several months or a year when they have a need for whatever it is that you do, if they understand it. But really being very specific. Sometimes when we have our one-to-ones, even in BNI, when I put in the one-to-one, I put the details. Tracy and I talked about da 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 da, and we're going to do, and I say what it is that I'm going to do, and that holds myself accountable, so that the meeting is not just an encounter, but is an intentional connection.
Oh, Tony Ivy Sr., and I'll say his name because he happens to be your husband. Yes, I like this. So you are firing on all cylinder, girls.
Absolutely.
You are firing. So let's talk about something else now. Our mutual friend Kirk said something, and I'll bet you'll agree with this because it sounds like the two of you are like-minded. He said that when you talk to someone and you learn about what's important to them, or, like they're a big golfer like yourself.
Right.
And then you happen to meet somebody else who might be looking for what they do, business-wise or what have you, and you think, oh, this would be a great connection for so-and-so, a referral. And this other person happens to be a golfer too. You know this about that. So that it's a much deeper referral, have you found, if there's a commonality between the two people you're trying to connect.
Absolutely. And the other part is that you always keep, when you make a good connection, they are front of mind. So I at the time that Kirk was alluding to, he was the area director and I was a director consultant and a president at the same time. And what I ended up doing is, because I was doing all of those tasks, I was able to give 2 to 3 times more referrals than anyone in the chapter, because I was constantly connecting, constantly putting the dots together, constantly finding how you all could mesh. And many of the connections sometimes were not even business to business. It was just people, a single mother who had 2 kids, 2 and 4, and another single mom that had 2 kids, 2 and 4, and they were connecting them so that then they had someone in their network, someone in their support. So
now that is an excellent point that you just made. Let's talk about that a little bit more. Now, when we think about referrals or, sometimes connections, we're thinking, oh, okay, I need to refer business over here. Sometimes, like you just said, it's not about that. Sometimes it's just something on a personal level that will help support both of these two people. And so you're giving them that connection, givers gain, you may come back at some point, but you're helping to strengthen them. And then, like I discovered, when you made the connection with myself and Kirk, we had something in common, it was health and wellness. And so we got the talking, and then I learned more about you, so you learned more about, but it was a great connection because I learned a lot from him,
Right.
And I think, connections don't have to be, many times I just make introductions between people because there's something that they have that would help each other, and it's not necessarily business. So I think would you agree that we just need to just focus on connections in general?
Just connections. Yes. I believe so. I'm a Christian, so I'm always going to bring this up. I truly use it on my daily life because I have it in some form as a password somewhere. Matthew 6:33 that says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all
of these things will be added to you."
So when I seek to connect people and to make connections with people, everything else will take care of itself. I don't have to worry about, am I going to get enough referrals? Am I going to survive as a businesswoman? It just doesn't bother me. That doesn't even come into play. So with COVID-19, when we first came into our virtual meetings, there were so many people who were, anxious and stressed, and rightfully so. It was a very devastating time. But what I found after that very first virtual meeting, I said, I came to talk about my services that I provide, but people who were hurting were giving. People whose companies had shut down just for a little bit said, I'm shut down, but I want to give. And that gift was PPE, it was supplies, it was, I'm not using this anymore. So that's that notion. And then those people are doing well now. They're coming out of it. They're, viable. And so I think that tells a great story. And then the other thing that I would say is when you're coming into a network, if any of you are looking to network and to get into, it doesn't matter where you land, don't judge a book by its cover.
Thank you.
Don't judge a book by its cover. And when I say that, don't look at the chapter or the organization. Look at all the businesses and say, I can't be a part of this because I don't see anyone who's going to take care of me or feed me. Because you don't know what people have done. Many of us have, like, I've had the same career path goals since I was 14, but that's not the case for everyone. Mm-hmm. Some people, you've written a book, you do health and wellness, you were a makeup artist. So if I looked at you when you walked in that door and said, she's with Cruise Planners at the time, and I'm not going to take a cruise, so there's no really need for me to connect with her. I would have never have known. Oh, I knew you were a beautiful person, but I would never have known what you bring. I literally just sitting down, and every single time we talk, there's something else. There's something else. And so do not judge a book by its cover. Again, back to my initial statement, every single person has a redeemable quality. And that means that's a quality that's amazing to the world, and it could be amazing to me or someone I can connect them with.
It makes them unique. It makes them. Now I want to back up to something you just said. You quoted Matthew. Mm-hmm. Said, "Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added." I just want to make a point. If you look back, the old patriarchs in the Bible, Moses, Abraham, all those guys. Especially like Abraham, he was loaded.
Right.
They were loaded. But if you look, there's a lot of talk about the faith that they had, the right things that they did, the right living that they did, the giving that they did. But all of this other stuff, they just happened to get.
Right.
Because they got wisdom through all of this. They got wisdom through this. So that's it. You don't have to chase after, like you said. You never chase after it. You just do the right things. You make the connections. You treat people right. And it's funny, the things you learn. And when you said, okay, the other point you made is like not judging a book by its cover. I learned so much about that when I was a professional makeup artist.
Okay.
The thing that would astound me is, somebody would come up to you and you thought, you could look at them and go, oh, well, they're ta. Mm-hmm. I've had people come up to me that were covered in head to toe with mud in overalls, who you would think, oh, they don't have anything. And I never would judge. Guy pulled out, I don't know how thick of a wad of cash that he had and bought whatever it was. And I was like, holy cow. I have been astounded many, many times about that. I learned a lot about that in Texas because when I lived there,
right,
there were people in the oil that you would know had anything. So you treat people, I think you said the keystone there is we treat people with respect. Absolutely. Every single person, all of you watching, all of you who will be watching, every single one of you has something unique to offer to the world. And so we seek to make these connections with each other because we want to show the other person that we recognize that, hey, you have something special. And Donna, I think one thing you do really well that I've noticed is that you look for that. You look for that magic sauce that this person has. And you even tell them, like you've told me so many, oh, you do this well, you do this. And it's like, you know what? that really, thank you, because that gives me courage to maybe look at doing something. And you do that for people. So today, do we want to let's give a homework assignment to our viewers.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so we're all right now, we're in the virtual world. We are,
Yeah.
whether you use Facebook, Zoom, everybody's Zoom these days.
That's right.
So pick out every meeting that you have, encounters on Facebook. Look to make connections, people on your face, people that you've been friends with, people you see on your feed, comment something that you notice about them, try to compliment. And if you get to have a discussion with people on Messenger or what have you, try to talk to them like Donna was saying. Ask questions like, hey, what's your, favorite season, whatever it is, when is your birthday, and try to make that connection, because the more you talk to them, the more you're going to find out what their secret sauce is,
That's
what
right.
makes them unique. And then you turn around and say, hey, you know what? You do this so well. Have you ever, so, and I think it's what you said too, you make people feel like they matter.
That's
I
right.
think that's the biggest thing. You make people, that's the connection. You make people feel like they matter. They're not just, oh, well, let me see if I can do business with them. Or
Right.
what can they do for me? It's not about that. It's
Exactly.
making that deep. And you can do that around, the world now. The world is your oyster. I've got friends in Kenya.
Right.
I've got a friend in Ireland. I mean, I've got, but you keep building on that. And so that is one thing that I will say about you. It seems like every meeting that we have, every networking meeting that Donna and I are in, she's up there. Okay, well, I had like 5 referrals for these people, and this is that. This is that.
Right.
This is how she does it.
That's right.
She
Always looking. Always.
old AT&T ad. Reach out and touch someone. Just reach out. You might have to touch a lot of someone's, but when you get those golden stars,
Right.
those people that you really hit it off with, that's a connection you always have, and you can keep them in mind.
You
And,
can.
oh, I just need to introduce these people.
That's right.
I was just on a impromptu one-on-one this morning with somebody that I'm going to have on the show for a future show. And I immediately was like, oh my gosh, I need to connect you with this one, and I need to connect you with this one, because you two have this. I'm like, it gets very exciting when you think about it, even for a shy one like me. No one believes me, by the way, when they tell them I'm shy.
Yeah.
I'm an introvert, y'all. And yeah, sure. No, I really am.
Right.
So, all right. So, what final words of wisdom do we want to leave people with today about connecting? And by the way, you've shared such great information, and I knew you would.
You.
But what final words would you like to leave them with?
Well, we talked about, and you mentioned that everyone matters. Everyone has a redeemable quality, but also in this virtual world, try to tap into what's going on. If you see someone in the virtual world and you see in meetings and you see that they're disengaged, or they're really, really distracted, go the extra mile. Reach out to them. Hey, I'd love to have a virtual one-to-one. And start with asking, how are you? How are you doing? And then ask how their business is doing. Okay? And just be a listener. And then finally, how is their network? Especially for business people, how's their network going? And then the last question is, what can I do to help? And that's really what it's all about. I love giving. I love helping. What way can I make your life better?
And I can attest, you do that for so many people. And I always like to say about Donna, she's a stealth giver, because you don't even really notice that she's, sometimes it's like, she gives it like, okay, sometimes you give some really cool little gifts. Just when I first joined the chapter and I was accepted into our BNI chapter, she gave me the cutest little gift. It was one of her little hand sanitizers. Okay, you got to show that because that's like one of your signatures.
Yes.
Yeah. So one of her eye care scientists, and she's had supported another business and bought some hand cream from them and gave me both of those. And do you know, that was so nice. But not even just, that was a really sweet gift to give me and made me feel so welcome. But you've given like non-tangibly, constantly. And whenever you've made a good connection with somebody, whenever you're around them and you feel lifted, you feel full up of hope and goodness. That's a connection. That's a connection. And so, yes, it could lead to business, friendship, and or both.
Right.
But you want to make those connections, right?
Right.
Where people trust you, because it holds a lot of weight when I say, yes, talk to this person.
That's right.
And by the way, you both love golf.
Yes.
So
awesome. Awesome. And we found out later that we were both vegan. I was like,
yeah, oh my God. It's not you.
It didn't happen till way later. So
yeah, that was way later. So we both of us eat plant-based. So yeah, that's a big connection between the two of us, along with other commonalities we share. So aw, you have the nicest husband.
What did he say?
He said she is such a selfless giver. She really is. She really is.
Oh.
You really are. And so people come away from people like you, especially you, knowing that they're blessed to know you and that you always looking out for them personally as well as for business. So for those of us, and you made another good point, and I'll close with this because I know we're running a bit long, but you said that people are scared right now. Their businesses have been turned upside down, sideways, all kinds of. This is how you begin to rebuild that. Strengthen what you got.
Absolutely.
Where you can. And sometimes older connections, or what you thought were connections, may not be connections at all, and that's okay. Right. Just start from where you are right now.
Absolutely.
Just reach out to the people and reach out to people and see if you get a response, and many times you will, and then you just go from there and just build a new thing. We are entering a new age, right?
Absolutely.
New age. So let's go forward. And you know what, guys? Joyful voyaging is not just about, yes, I'm a travel agent, but you know what? The joyful voyager is about your voyage. You voyage whether you voyage on a trip, right?
That's right.
You voyage through life. Your health is a voyage. Everything's a voyage. And believe me, at 60, my makeup's a voyage in the morning. Yeah, so anyway.
That's wonderful.
Anyway, I want to thank you so very much for being on the show. I knew it was going to be a delight. I knew that I was going to just love this. And I'm going to see the information that you've shared is so amazing. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Now I'm going to go ahead and sign off the broadcast and wish all of you a joyful voyage for today. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.